Welcome to the 10 Minutes Gold Mine, where every book gives you a treasure of knowledge in just 10 minutes. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Full summary. Introduction. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn is a psychological thriller that explores the complexities of marriage, deception, and the manipulative games people play. At the center of the story are Nick and Amy Dunne, a married couple whose seemingly perfect life is torn apart when Amy disappears under mysterious circumstances. As the investigation progresses, what initially seems like a simple case of a missing person soon spirals into a dark, twisted web of lies and manipulation, forcing the reader to question everything they thought they knew about the couple. The novel is divided into two main narratives: Nick's perspective, told in the present tense, and Amy's perspective, revealed through her diary entries. The contrast between the two unreliable narrators drives the suspense and allows Flynn to explore the dark side of relationships. It's a book about the power of perception, the dangers of idealization, and the truth behind the facades we create. Part 1. The Disappearance. The story begins on the morning of their 5th wedding anniversary. Nick Dunne comes home to find his wife, Amy, missing. The house is a mess, with signs of a struggle. A chair is overturned, and there are traces of blood on the floor. Nick calls the police, and Detective Rhonda Boney, along with Officer Jim Gilpin, begins to investigate. From the outset, Nick appears to be the perfect concerned husband. However, as the investigation unfolds, the police discover that Nick's story doesn't add up. His behavior seems cold and unemotional, which makes him look guilty in the eyes of both the investigators and the media. There are inconsistencies in his alibi, and the more the police dig into his life, the more questions arise. Nick reveals that he and Amy had been experiencing marital problems. He confesses that he had been having an affair with Andy, a younger woman he met while teaching at a local college. His affair adds fuel to the fire, making him look even more suspicious. However, the real twist comes when the police find out that Nick had taken out a large life insurance policy on Amy, making it appear as if he stood to gain financially from her death. This revelation turns public opinion against him, and he becomes the primary suspect. Meanwhile, Amy's diary entries reveal a different side of the story. Through the pages of her journals, readers learn about her troubled relationship with Nick. Amy writes about how she feels disconnected from her husband, how he has changed, and how she suspects he may be having an affair. She portrays herself as a woman who has been wronged and neglected. Her diary entries present a completely different version of their marriage, one where Nick is abusive and emotionally distant. The media quickly seizes upon the story, turning Amy into a media sensation. Known as Amazing Amy, she is presented as the perfect wife, beautiful, intelligent, and accomplished. The public begins to view her as a victim of Nick's cruelty. As the pressure mounts, Nick's life begins to unravel, and it becomes clear that the investigation is not going in his favor. Part 2. The Truth About Amy. About halfway through the novel, Flynn drops a bombshell. It turns out that Amy is not dead, and she has staged her own disappearance. This twist completely changes the direction of the story. Amy's journal entries, which had seemed to paint Nick as the villain, were all part of her elaborate scheme to frame him for her murder. Amy, a master manipulator, meticulously planned every detail of her disappearance to ensure Nick would be the prime suspect. She carefully crafted a series of diary entries that painted him as an abusive husband. She even planted evidence in their home, including signs of a struggle, that would suggest he had killed her. Amy's goal was to punish Nick for his infidelity and for the way he had treated her. She wanted him to suffer, and what better way to do that than by framing him for her murder? Amy's plan involves not only faking her death but also making it look like Nick had murdered her for the insurance money. She drains their joint bank accounts, creating the illusion that Nick had financial motives for killing her. She also uses her amazing Amy persona to her advantage, knowing that the media would eagerly pick up the story of a missing woman with such a perfect life. As Amy hides out in a small town, she revels in watching the media and public tear Nick apart. However, her carefully laid plans begin to unravel when she is robbed by two acquaintances who steal her money. Forced to reconsider her options, Amy realizes that she cannot remain in hiding forever. She decides to return to her life, but this time, she has a new plan. Meanwhile, Nick begins to suspect that Amy may not be dead after all. He starts to put together the pieces of her elaborate ruse and hires a lawyer, Tanner Bolt, to help him fight the charges against him. Nick, knowing that the public is already convinced of his guilt, begins to play the media game. He publicly pretends to be a loving husband who wants nothing more than to have his wife back, despite knowing that Amy is capable of anything. Part 3. The Return and the Ultimate Trap. Amy's return is just as manipulative as her disappearance. She contacts Daisy Collins, an old boyfriend who has always been obsessed with her. Daisy, who is wealthy and lonely, agrees to help Amy. She convinces him to take her to his secluded lake house, where she plans to hide out until things calm down. However, Amy soon reveals her true intentions. She seduces Daisy, then murders him in cold blood, staging the scene to make it look like she killed him in self-defense after he became violent. Daisy's death is the final piece in Amy's plan to re-enter her old life. Covered in Daisy's blood, she returns home to Nick, claiming that she narrowly escaped his violent advances. She plays the role of the traumatized wife, fully aware of the media's adoration and the public's sympathy for her. Nick knows that Amy is behind everything. He knows she staged her own death and manipulated everyone around her. But there is nothing he can do. Amy holds all the power, and she has trapped him in a way he cannot escape. To make matters worse, Amy reveals that she is pregnant with Nick's child. Using her fertility clinic records, she shows that she secretly used Nick's sperm to get pregnant, trapping him even further in their toxic marriage. Nick, now fully aware of who Amy is and what she is capable of, decides to stay in the marriage. He knows that if he leaves her, she will ruin his life. Amy, always calculating, continues to manipulate him, using the pregnancy as a way to maintain control. The novel ends with the two of them locked in a poisonous, unbreakable bond. They are both trapped in a marriage of convenience, each aware of the other's flaws but unable to escape the toxic cycle. Conclusion. Gone Girl is not just a thriller. It's a deep exploration of the dark side of relationships, media manipulation, and the lies we tell ourselves and others. The novel presents two deeply flawed protagonists, both of whom are unreliable narrators, which keeps the reader constantly guessing. Nick and Amy's marriage is built on deception, manipulation, and control, and their story serves as a chilling commentary on the lengths people will go to maintain power in a relationship. The novel's portrayal of Amy as a master manipulator who is always one step ahead of everyone else is both fascinating and terrifying. Flynn has created a character who is capable of anything, someone who will stop at nothing to get what she wants. Nick, on the other hand, is a character who finds himself in over his head, trapped by his own mistakes and Amy's overwhelming intelligence. Gone Girl leaves readers with many questions. Is it possible for a relationship to survive such deception? How far can someone go in their quest for revenge? And, most importantly, how much of what we see in the media and in our own lives is a carefully constructed illusion? What do you think about Amy's actions? Do you believe Nick made the right choice by staying? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's it for today's 10 Minutes Gold Mine. If you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep mining for more golden knowledge. See you in the next one.